can do anything that we wanna do. Long as you got me, and I know I got you. We a team. No in between.
Dr. Liz Boham, I want to thank you for coming because you are an icon to me. I mean, really.
And it's so great to be with you and to have this conversation.
I feel like divinely led to you. You're truly an amazing doctor who connects the dots. But your journey began a long time ago. You were in medical school and got diagnosed with breast cancer, right?
Yeah. I thought I was doing everything right. My undergraduate and graduate degree was in nutrition and exercise physiology. I was really into eating the right foods and exercising. I love nutrition. And then I said, well, maybe I should go back to medical school. I was doing breast exams on myself to learn how to do them on other women. I have no family history of breast cancer, so I wasn't worried, oh, I'm going to get breast cancer. Right. I was just trying to learn and feel like, okay, what am I feeling for when I'm doing breast exams on my patients?
So then I mean, you feel something and you say, this doesn't feel right? Or
yeah, July of 1999, I did my breast exam and everything felt fine. And then August of 1999, I did a breast exam and there was a lump. And so I said to my husband, well, what is this? And he's like, well, you should get that checked out. So I'm like, okay.
And you're the doctor.
Okay. So, and lo and behold, I ended up having a triple negative breast cancer. It's an aggressive type of breast cancer. Some women, when they have breast cancer, they call it ER positive, meaning estrogen receptor positive, or PR positive, progesterone receptor positive. But mine didn't have those. So it's called a triple negative breast cancer. And it's more common in younger women. It's a little more aggressive in terms of how fast it grows. And it's treated very differently. I ended up having surgery and then chemotherapy and then radiation therapy. I really wanted children, so it was so important for me to have children. And so when I went through chemo, my period went away, went through menopause, all the signs and symptoms. But I was lucky, my period came back a few months after I finished treatment. And then a few months later, I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 25. And so I was very lucky. I was able to breastfeed on the non-radiated breast. I then got pregnant with my son, who's 23. And then I was just like exhausted and was like, what just happened? Why did this happen to me? I was the one all interested in prevention and wellness. And so I had to really kind of figure out why for myself.
We go through, as women, I think especially, these periods of time, young children, obviously an incredibly scary and heavy lift of going through treatment and working. And then all of a sudden it's like one day you go, oh my God, what just happened to me? It's hard when somebody's going through it to say you're going through this because you're in survival mode, but you were actually in survival mode.
And sometimes it's even harder at that point, right? Like my oncologist is like, okay,
you should be fine.
Good,
grateful.
I'll see you in 6 months or whatever. And you're just like, oh my goodness, I was exhausted. I had to really think about, well, how do I want to practice medicine? What could I do to help my patients? How could I work with patients in a different way? It sort of shifted so much of what I knew about health and wellness and disease prevention in a whole nother way. My mom actually brought me to Canyon Ranch on a mother-daughter weekend. And my mom actually met one of the doctors there, Cindy Geyer. She said, you know, my daughter would really like to work here, being just like the best mother ever, right?
And your wing girl.
Yes. And so I ended up getting to do a rotation at Canyon Ranch. And then that's when I met Mark Hyman. He was just coming out with his first book that he wrote with Mark Laponis, who was also at Canyon Ranch, called Ultra Prevention.
Well, this was all cutting edge, and as crazy as this sounds,
yeah,
the idea that someone would focus on prevention.
I went to the first functional medicine conference in 2004, and you know, I was blown away. There's this thing called the matrix, which is where we think about, yes, we think about lifestyle, because lifestyle is very important, you know, how we handle stress, how we sleep, our community, our nutrition, our exercise, but then we also go up into the matrix and think about how all the different systems in the body are interrelated and influencing your health and well-being.
But the problem is that when you're going to the doctor, you're going to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist is just doing your vagina, isn't even looking to see if you have any skin cancer, right? Because that's the dermatologist. No one is going in anybody else's lane, which means that nobody is connecting the dots. So and you know what? Surprise, surprise. Your body is a bunch of different systems.
Yes.
And the functional medicine doctor is the person that connects the dots. Because for the most part, no one has someone to do that for them.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we're trained in conventional medicine is to name the situation and then use something to suppress the symptoms, as opposed to asking that question, like you said, why? Why is this happening? And then personalize your care. So in conventional medicine, we have a lot of algorithms and do this, do this, do this, but we know that that's really not working for everyone.
Your practice is up in Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
Okay, in Lenox.
Yep.
Walk me briefly through how you work with people in a different way.
So we have people fill out forms that kind of give us their health history. What is your timeline? That's something we really want to know. Like, when did you start to not feel well? If you don't feel well. Some people come to us just for optimal health, but a lot of people come because they're not feeling well. So when did you start to not feel well? What was going on around that time you weren't feeling well? We want to try to figure out what we call these triggers.
The triggers, right.
Yep, these things that sort of shifted the body to be working in a different way. And so we work to gather all of that information. And so when they come in to see us, we'll gather more information. A lot of times, there's one thing that pushes the body over the edge.
Right.
And so we have to then help support all the framework of the body so it can do what it needs to do, as well as pulling away the thing that pushes the body over the edge.
Right.
And that's really important. I mean, nutrition has a lot to play with that, but so does all of our lifestyle.
Right. So your book, Breast Wellness. So obviously I know where it came from, but what I love about it is that it's easy to read, or you can listen to it like I did. Do people get overwhelmed? Like when they come to you and they go, I don't understand, like I can't drag a wheelbarrow of kale behind me and be eating all of the fiber. How do you put something in place?
And I think in the wellness space, there's so much information out there now that it is overwhelming. And I feel like our job is to personalize things and help people know where they need to focus. I first did the book, Breast Wellness. I first did it as a DVD in 2015. But then we got to a point where people didn't have DVD players anymore, and I wanted to update the information. And so it was kind of cool because my daughter, she's a very good writer, and so she helped me edit it all and put it into the ebook. They will publish on demand for you as well. It was really just kind of full circle. It was just so wonderful to have her be a part of the book.
But how cool is that for her to help you with the book? I love that.
It was so
I
fun.
love that.
It was really special.
Let me just touch on inflammation.
Yes.
Can you just tell me here, what are the factors in inflammation, and why is inflammation not good?
It's not the easiest topic to explain, right? Because the body has this immune system, and one of the things it does is creates inflammation, and it does that to heal. So not all inflammation is bad. The problem is that for a lot of diseases, chronic, unremitting, regular inflammation with outbreaks is associated with a lot of different diseases, everything from cancer to vascular disease to dementia. When inflammation goes unchecked and it just keeps going, it can create, or is a part of the process of creating disease. With cancer, what's fascinating with inflammation is both local inflammation as well as systemic inflammation.
Okay, what's the difference?
Local inflammation would be like in one area of the body. If there's an area of the skin that's really inflamed, if it doesn't go away, you can more likely get a skin cancer in that area. So if there is an area of the body always trying to fix itself, sometimes it makes mistakes. And that can be what triggers cancer to grow. Then systemic inflammation is more of like inflammation in the whole body, and that's what people talk about with a high C-reactive protein or a high SED rate. These are just blood markers that can be a sign of inflammation in the whole body. And what that person might feel like is they might feel like they're holding on to water, they have fluid retention, or they have fatigue. Yes, stiff joints all over, not just one area, but all over. We know that the weight around the belly, the visceral fat, is associated with more inflammation in the body, and more of that systemic inflammation, all over inflammation. But the question always is, if there is inflammation, where is it coming from? And for some people, their inflammation might be coming from their diet. Their processed foods, they're grabbing the muffin off the shelf and drinking it with a frappuccino
like
with
if somebody's
lots
thinking
of sugar,
about
right?
processed foods. What's processed food? It's wrapper food. So not like whole foods, like fresh vegetables, fresh. If you were going to have bread, because you want to try to do lower carbs, right? It would be like multi-grain, so you're getting your fiber and you're getting more nutrients. So
absolutely.
But Just curious, you go through cancer at 30, right? Mm-hmm. How do you think that changed you?
When I was going through treatment, Oprah was on one day. She had a session about a gratitude journal. Well, that's kind of interesting. And so I started to keep a gratitude journal. And I was not good at it at first. I was angry. I was pissed off this happened to me. I was afraid. And so I couldn't think of anything I was grateful for. And so I would make up stuff like the sun, dinner.
Didn't rain.
Right. And I was like, because I definitely had glass half empty kind of mindset. I never thought I was good enough and I was doing enough and I was, I was always not enough. A few years after doing my journal, I will just notice it comes to me much more easily. I'll be walking down the street and I'll be like, that is such a cool building right here in New York, or what a sunset, or look at the grass. And I never used to do that. I knew I'm really good at this nutrition thing. I'm good at this exercise thing. I knew what I needed to really focus on was the stress management piece and the rest piece for me, right? Like for me, that's where I needed to do better. I can now say I'm grateful that I went through cancer at that stage because it helped me become better at what I do. I work very differently, I'm sure, because I was a patient so many times in so many different situations.
Being a doctor that has been a patient, I mean, what a gift. I mean, you were giving a gift because of your experience to everybody that comes into your sphere of influence.
Yeah, it just taught me a lot about what we're there for and what our job is.
People will always say to me, do they take insurance? And I don't know, I'm not going to pay out of pocket. This is a lot of money. And I'm like, to be dead is actually a lot. It's going to cost you a lot. To have a stroke, to feel like shit for what are you doing? Our health is the number one thing, because without it, there's really nothing there.
Insurance has sort of dictated how we practice medicine.
Of course it has.
As opposed to the other way around. Insurance doesn't think we should have more than 10 minutes with a patient. And how can you gather their history and come up with their timeline?
You can't.
So that's kind of how medicine has kind of gotten to this place where it's just not satisfying for not just the patient, but the physicians too.
I look at you as an investment, and oftentimes people will not do it for themselves, but they'll do it for their kids, right?
Yeah.
And so it's I say to my kids, I'm doing everything I possibly can, and I want to know that they know that I've done everything that I possibly can to take care of myself so that I can be around and as functional as I possibly can, and not hunched over in a chair drooling, but that I want to take care of myself as best I can. And having a doctor like you is such a gift, and thank you because I know how busy you are, but thank you for taking the time to come to New York to speak with me here, to speak with me downstairs to those wise and wonderful and wild women downstairs. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.